On Wednesday, September 8, 2004, Jay Orbin celebrated his anniversary. The man turned 45 years old. Jay had everything he needed in life. His own big business that occupied all his time, a beautiful family, and plenty of money to provide his loved ones with a decent life. Jay Orbin lived in Phoenix, Arizona, USA, with his wife Marjori Orbin and their long-awaited 8-year-old son Noah. The man traveled frequently because of his business, which operated in different states. He was involved in the sale of artwork and jewelry. However, at one point, their beautiful life came crashing down when the man went missing. Jay Orbin knew from the beginning that Marjorie would not be easy to deal with as soon as he met her. The guy met her when she was working as a dancer at a Las Vegas strip club he liked to visit. Jay was so charmed by her that he fell in love immediately and soon began booking her for private dances almost every night. But he wanted more than just dancing. He had real feelings for her and wanted a relationship with her. The guy asked her out. He was sweet, kind, funny, and Marjorie finally agreed. However, the girl was not going to give up her activities for his sake. She wanted popularity, fame, and money. Marjorie wanted everyone to know her, and the whole world was at her feet. She continued to perform, even though Jay didn't like it. At that time, he was still 26 years old, young, not rich, and at the very beginning of his successful path. So after a while, Marjorie decided to break up with him because she didn't see any prospects with him. Marjorie traveled to Florida, where she used to live. There she met millionaire Michael Peter, who was opening the best strip clubs around the world. He could give her everything, and his possibilities were limitless. This is what attracted the beautiful Marjorie. She managed to attract the attention of the millionaire, and a romantic relationship began between them. The couple was even engaged. However, it turned out that Michael had many such beautiful young girls, with whom he met and promised them a great future. When Marjorie found this out, she realized that she had no chance. The girl was disappointed in him. She tried her luck a few more times in local clubs and in her personal life, but nothing worked out. She was married and divorced 7 times. Disillusioned with Florida, Marjorie decided to return to Las Vegas, where she started her career. It was 1993. She was contacted by Jay Orbin, who all these years was in love with the girl and was looking for her. At that time, he had already established his business and was growing it. Jay was passing through Vegas, saw the billboard, and was happy that he had finally found her. Marjorie was surprised by the call, but she was pleased to hear that Jay had been waiting for her all these years. A man offered her a drink, and she accepted. Marjorie and Jay met at a bar where they drank all night and talked about life, catching up. Jay was only in Las Vegas passing through for one night for work, and he had to be back in Phoenix the next day. So they were separated again for a while, but they kept in touch, calling almost every day. When he had free time, he immediately went to Vegas, where they enjoyed each other's company. A romantic relationship began between them, which seamlessly progressed to a wedding. They were married in a small white wedding chapel. It was the 8th marriage for the girl. After the wedding, Marjorie, in agreement with her husband, decided to leave dancing and her unenviable past behind, focusing on family life at her husband's home in Phoenix. She became a regular housewife who stayed home, cooking and cleaning while Jay was at work. They dreamed of having children, but it turned out Marjorie had a problem with that. At the age of 18, she was told by a doctor that she would not be able to have children. The girl underwent treatment for infertility, which cost a lot of money. Jay at that time was already earning well and did not spare money for his wife and for the future child they so desperately wanted. Finally, the treatment worked. Marjorie became pregnant and gave birth to their long-awaited son, whom the couple named Noah. Their family life seemed idyllic. The couple were very happy and raising their son. Marjorie enjoyed being a housewife, wife, and mother. On August 26, 2004, Jay and Marjorie celebrated their son Noah's 8th birthday with friends and family. A few days after the celebration, Jay left for a business trip to Florida, but he soon returned again, since Hurricane Francis made his trip too dangerous. On September 8, 2004, his mother, Joan Orbin, called Jay to wish him a happy birthday while he was on his way home. He told her that he was driving back to Phoenix and would call her later that night when he returned and planned to celebrate the holiday. The woman waited impatiently for the call to properly congratulate her son, but he never called back. It was strange and not like him at all. In the following days, the woman was unable to contact her son. She lived in another city, and her daughter-in-law Marjorie answered the phone, assuring her that everything was all right, but that her husband had a lot of work to do and did not have time to contact his mother. When a week passed and he still hadn't contacted her mother couldn't get in touch with him, and that's when she realized something was wrong. Marjorie continued to insist that there was nothing to worry about. Jay was on another business trip and was therefore out of touch, but that did nothing to reassure the worried mother. In the past, when Jay had been away, he'd still found time to call her. She hadn't even wished him a happy birthday, which was very important to him. But the woman was waiting. Another week passed. The mother gathered a family council and discussed the situation with her relatives. Everyone unanimously decided that it was time to sound the alarm and contact the law enforcement authorities. Then the mother called Marjorie and demanded an explanation, or she was calling the police. This is when Marjorie revealed that her husband was indeed missing. According to her, Jay had returned to Phoenix from Florida but left again for another trip, not even celebrating his anniversary, and never came back. Now her husband hasn't been in touch, and she doesn't know where he's headed. Then her mother demanded that she go to the police. Marjorie did so. On September 22nd, she called and filed a missing persons report on her spouse, or rather ex-spouse, because they were divorced at the time. Detectives asked her for all of her husband's information to put out a wanted notice, including his license plate number and documents. The woman said she would clarify them and call back, but never called the police. The investigators themselves tried to contact her many times to get the data, but she simply ignored their calls. But they eventually managed to get through. The husband was put on the wanted list, and an investigation into the circumstances of his disappearance began. Some interesting details about the relationship between Marjorie and the missing Jay came to light. Jay Orbin's life seemed to be going well, but not everything was as perfect as it looked at first glance. Jay and Marjorie actually divorced back in 1998, but still lived together as husband and wife. According to Marjorie, the reason for the divorce was purely financial. The divorce was proposed by her husband, and it had to do with tax optimization. Marjorie claimed that it did not affect their relationship. They continued to love each other and were one family. However, despite living together, Marjorie had several affairs on the side. While Jay was away, Marjorie brought her new boyfriend, Larry Weisberg, into their home. He not only started staying with his girlfriend, but also moved to live in Jay's house and moved his belongings there, which he had stored in Marjorie's ex-husband's closet. This circumstance seemed highly questionable. Also, all the relatives noticed the woman's disinterest in the search for Jay. She did not take part in his search, was not interested in its progress, did not help in the investigation, and was not even at all upset about his sudden disappearance. Instead, she was living just fine without him, enjoying happiness with her new lover and spending money from Jay's business account. Just a few days, Marjorie spent $100,000 on various small things: toys for the child, expensive beautiful piano, and other purchases for herself and her lover. The woman did not deny herself anything, and her behavior caused concern not only to the family of the missing man, but also to the police. So they obtained a search warrant for the Orbin family home. Jay's credit cards and his checkbook were found in the house. These were things Jay always took with him when he went away on business. He couldn't just leave them behind or forget them. Jay's cell phone records and credit card statements confirmed that he had returned to Phoenix from Florida. Where he went after that was unclear. There was no further movement on the cards or phone activity, so he could not be traced. Police suspected this was not just a disappearance, but a murder, and believed the wife had a direct connection to it. While the search for the man was underway and detectives were looking out for his wife, on October 23, 2004, a homeless man found a container wrapped in a thick layer of black plastic in the desert, almost on the outskirts of Phoenix. When he opened the container, he discovered a human body inside. That's when he reported it to the police. The police officers arrived on the scene and looked inside the container. There they indeed found human remains that were in a severe state of decomposition, aided by time and hot weather. The find was simply gruesome and shocked the police. Inside, in addition to body parts, there was a wad of money and a used bullet. All the internal organs were missing. Someone had taken them out. The medical examiner who examined the body concluded that it had been frozen after death and then cut into pieces with a saw. It was impossible to determine the cause of death. Only one thing was clear: the killer acted extremely methodically and in cold blood. Not all parts of the body were in the containers, some were missing, such as the head. It was difficult to identify the body in such a state. This required DNA analysis, which helped to establish that the victim of a terrible crime was Jay Orbin. Unfortunately, no evidence was found. The case of the man's disappearance was reclassified as a murder. Investigators have long suspected that he was not alive, since his wife did not wait and did not look for him. That's why she became the main suspect in the case. There were simply no other suspects. Jay had no enemies and ill-wishers, and his wife's behavior literally screamed of her involvement in the murder. Meanwhile, Jay's wife continued to spend money from his accounts and literally emptied them at a cosmic rate. She even managed to get caught forging his signature on a check when she paid for a purchase. After her ex-husband's death, Marjorie immediately went to the insurance company and received almost $1 million from his life insurance policy. Police were contacted by a close friend of Marjorie's who claimed that she had previously threatened to shoot her ex-husband over the money. She also threatened to wrap his dead body in a blanket and send it to the desert. Jay's remains were also found there. On December 6, 2004, 6 weeks after Jay's remains were discovered, Marjorie was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, theft, and fraud. According to investigators, Marjorie killed Jay on September 8, 2004, when he returned from a business trip on her spouse's birthday. The woman, infatuated with a new romance, wanted Jay out of her life, but she didn't want to just walk away. Marjorie was already used to a lavish lifestyle, and she needed her husband's money. They were divorced at the time, and she had nothing to gain. So she decided to get rid of her husband in order to get the inheritance and the life insurance payout, of which she was the beneficiary. According to investigators, Marjorie waited for her husband to return and shot Jay in the garage of their home, where bloodstains were found. She then froze his body and then defrosted it to make it easier to cut him into pieces. She used a saw and an electric jigsaw to do this. She then hid the container and enjoyed life without her husband. The prosecution had evidence to back up this theory. Receipts for a mop, trash bags, and cleaning supplies bought the day after Jay disappeared. Detectives believed she had been doing a thorough cleaning of the garage to clean up traces of blood, and she had almost succeeded. Purchases were made using Jay's credit cards, including 2 containers, one of which contained remains. CCTV footage confirmed that it was Marjorie who made the purchase. The container in which the body was found matched her purchase in color and barcode. The prosecutor believed that she had placed the remains in 2 containers and hid them in different locations, but the second one could never be found. It was also determined that she had painted the floor of her garage to cover all traces. Immediately after her husband's disappearance, she began actively spending his money and put a lover in the family home, knowing that no one would press charges against her. Marjorie's behavior immediately gave her away. At the trial, Marjorie's cellmate appeared on the prosecution's side and said that she confessed to killing her husband and said that he disgusted her. Marjorie also told her that she first shot Jay, then froze, thawed, and then cut off his hands, feet, and head, spread the body parts into 2 containers, and disposed of them by hiding them in different places. Marjorie did not mention where, however. The defendant's new lover, Larry Weisberg, whom she had brought into the house after her husband's disappearance, was also questioned at the trial. He was offered immunity to testify against Marjorie, meaning that anything he would say in court could not be used against him. However, the man stated that he knew nothing about what had happened to Jay. Marjorie had not told him about it, and he was in no way involved in the murder. According to the defense counsel, Larry Weisberg could get rid of his lover's husband in order to eliminate his rival and enjoy carefree happiness at his expense, while Marjorie had nothing to do with it at all. Larry's home and workplace were also searched, and the detectives even considered him as a murder suspect. During the search, they found a remote control in his home that allowed him access to the Orbin family's garage. At his work, police found an open package of blades for an electric jigsaw, but 2 of them were missing. The remaining blades matched the cuts on Jay's body, but that was not proof of his guilt, since Marjorie could have taken the blade from him as well. In addition, Larry had a solid alibi for the murder. He was in another city, so he was excluded from the list of suspects. The defense argued that the lover could have used the remote control to get into the garage, waited there for Jay, and shot him. But the prosecutor argued that Larry had an alibi, so there was no way he could have killed Jay himself. Marjorie herself denied guilt, despite her suspicious behavior, but did not testify again. After a long, grueling trial that lasted several months, the jury, after deliberating, found Marjorie guilty on all counts of first-degree murder, theft, and fraud. Marjorie was sentenced to life in prison for murder and concurrent 2 5-year sentences for theft and fraud. After the trial, Marjorie participated in an interview where she regretted not testifying at the trial. She claimed that her lover Larry killed Jay, and she helped him cover up the murder because she loved him, and also he threatened her and she was afraid to speak out against him. According to the woman, Larry planned the murder to get rid of the third extra in their love triangle. That night, Jay and Larry had an altercation in the garage over Jay coming home unexpectedly from a hurricane when he wasn't expected. The men began to work things out, and moments later she heard gunshots. When she ran out to the noise, she saw Larry, who told her that Jay was dead. According to Marjorie, she had never seen her husband's body. Larry had handled it all, so she was not aware of where the other remains were, but no one believed the woman, and all her appeals were rejected. She is currently serving time at the Arizona State Prison Complex. Custody of Jay and Marjorie's son has been awarded to the brother of the deceased. Share your opinion in the comments, and also put likes if you found this story interesting. But don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. See you soon.